Hello, I'm Lisa. I'm a Pilates instructor and this is Emma. She's a Pilates expert, so she's going to help me today because I'm a little bit too pregnant to do any exercises or to make them look good anyway. So we're going to start today after you've done your alignment and breathing exercises and you've then gone through a nice warm-up. We're going to end the warm-up in child pose and then we're going to start our exercises. So today we're going to start up on all fours. So I'm going to bring Emma up onto all fours and we're going to get her into that neutral position. So when you come up onto all fours, if you look down at your knees and make sure that they're hip width apart, make sure that your hips are over your knees and your hands directly underneath your shoulders. Elbows are not locked. Shoulders drawn all the way down as if you're trying to slot them into your back pockets, and then just lifting the abdominals ever so slightly so that your back is nice and level and your pelvis is in that neutral position. If you look at Emma's lovely long neck now, she's going to keep it in this position. I'm making you long. If you look at Emma's lovely long giraffe neck, this is how you should be. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask Emma to breathe in through her nose and engage her core muscles. I cannot check this for her, but they're engaged, aren't they, Emma? Good. Okay, so I'm going to place an imaginary tray of drinks now on Emma's lower back and I'm going to ask her to breathe in to prepare, and as she breathes out, she's going to extend opposite arm, opposite leg away from the midline, and she's going to kick the wall because there's literally no room. Just take a shuffle forward. So as you can tell, Emma and I are very experienced at YouTube videos. We are experts. So let's try that again. So breathe in to prepare, breathe out. Opposite arm, opposite leg going away from the midline. If you look, there's no movement from the shoulders or the hips. Breathing in to come back, breathing out opposite side. So whilst Emma continues this exercise, I'm just going to talk you through what's happening. Those core muscles wrap from the bottom of your ribs all the way around your internal abdominals. So as you're lengthening your opposite arm and opposite leg, making sure that the back doesn't arch and you're not rocking from side to side. When Emma's arm is extended, she's making sure that her shoulders are not lifting out of that neutral position. So always breathing out to lengthen, breathing in to come back. Swapping sides with absolutely no movement on the lower back as well. So if you do feel brave enough to get a tray of champagne glasses, get someone to just pop them on here, and you can just see that they will not smash on the floor if you don't wobble. Obviously don't do that. That's it, breathing in to come back, breathing out to lengthen away. So you're going to try and keep this exercise going for as long as you can, but keeping that neutral position. So you're going to feel your internal abdominals working, your bottom muscles are working as well, and of course your arms and your shoulders. You're going to do one more each side. Emma's feeling the pressure, I can tell. Since everyone on YouTube is watching me. And this video is going to go viral and probably break the internet. So everyone in the world is going to see it. Okay, perfect. So last one. And then coming back onto her knees. And just resting back into child pose to stretch out the lower back before we move on. So a nice long stretch, relaxing all the way down, allowing the tailbone to sink down towards the heels. Perfect, that's enough of that. Coming up now into a seated position. If you start with your feet towards the end of the mat. And now Emma is going to show you how to roll down one vertebra at a time. So feet and knees are going to be hip distance apart. Lengthening through the spine, pelvis starts neutral. Breathing in, breathing out. Hollow out the abdominals, rolling the pelvis backwards, keeping the shoulders down. Lovely. So really using those abdominals. Excellent. And then just taking a nice big stretch, see loads of them. Perfect. So the next exercise we're going to do is we're going to do our 100 modified exercise. Now with the 100 exercise that you might see knocking about with the arm pumping, that's quite an advanced version, but we're just going to focus today on being able to lift the legs one at a time into a tabletop position without moving the pelvis, and this is really going to strengthen your core. So bringing Emma into the neutral position, arms starting down by your sides, knees bent, feet flat on the floor. So now if you look at Emma, you can't see, but I'll tell you, her feet, knees, hips and shoulders are all in a perfect straight line, nice and parallel with each other, and this is how she's going to remain. Her pelvis is going to be neutral, so when you're lying down, you need to find your hip bones and make sure that they're nice and level, and you're going to have a slight arch underneath your lower back. It's going to be different for everybody, but the most important thing is that you're comfortable. So Emma's shoulders are drawn down, her chest and rib cage is nice and relaxed, and as she starts to breathe now, you're going to breathe as well. You're doing these exercises here, I'm not just doing this for fun. So you're going to breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth. And start to just lighten the pressure on your feet. So I want you to imagine that you're resting your feet on thin ice. So as you're lightening the pressure through your feet, you're going to feel these muscles here in between your hip bones coming into contraction. So breathing in, engaging those core muscles. As you breathe out now, I want you to float one leg up into tabletop position. So your knee is coming directly above your hip. Your shin bone is parallel to the ceiling, calf muscle nice and relaxed. So we've still got the pelvis neutral. There's absolutely no movement in your lower back and pelvis. If that's easy enough, then breathe in, breathe out, float the opposite leg up. Perfect. So breathing in, float one leg back down, and then the second leg. So Emma's just going to do this for a moment while I ramble on. If you're happy with bringing one leg and then the second leg up without any movement at all through the pelvis or without arching or flattening your lower back, then you can move on to the next stage or you can stay there. If when you bring that second leg up there's too much movement, then just stay with one leg at a time. Perfect. So where Emma's working is those internal muscles. You don't want your abdominals to dome, you don't want to be tensing your outer abdominals. So now we're going to change it up a little bit. Bring one leg and then the second leg to tabletop, and now you're going to float your arms up just to here, palms facing each other. So now this gap here between the ribs and the pelvis isn't going to change. As you breathe in, engage your core muscles, breathe out. We're going to lengthen opposite arm and opposite leg away, just slowly, so there's no movement here. Perfect, bringing it back and then changing sides. Perfect, don't forget to breathe. Now if you look at what's happening here, nothing is the right answer. There's nothing happening here at all. There's no lengthening or bending. There's just a contraction of the core muscles. The rib cage and the pelvis is staying exactly the same length apart, and Emma's using all of those core muscles. Feel that working your core muscles in? It's quite warm now, isn't it? I'm not even doing anything and I'm having a hot flush. Good. So this again is quite an advanced movement. If you're a beginner, then you definitely shouldn't be doing this. You should just start with lifting one leg off of the floor and placing it back down until you're at the stage where there's absolutely no movement in the pelvis. Good, so just draw your knees into your chest now, relaxing and resting through that lower back. Okay, perfect. So I'm going to get Emma to roll over onto her right hand side now, and we're going to do our side kick exercise. Perfect. So lying nice and comfortably on your side, Emma's just resting her head on her arm, which is absolutely perfect. You can of course use all sorts of props and cushions if you can be bothered. So now looking at Emma, I'm going to tell her to imagine that she's lying in between two panes of glass, which means that there's nothing rolling forwards or back. So her ankles, knees, hips and shoulders are all neatly stacked on top of each other. So when I look down at her feet, they are the same length. If her top leg was slightly shorter than the bottom, then that would mean that her hips are wonky, and we don't want that. So we want to lengthen that top leg away, so you've got a slight arch underneath, a slight gap underneath the side that you're lying on, and then you know you're in that correct position. So breathing in, engage the core muscles. As you breathe out, keep the leg long as you lift all the way to hip height. Perfect, breathing into low without resting that leg down. So keep that movement going, breathing out to lift, breathing in to lower. Now if you look at Emma's hips here, there's no movement. So if you're lifting that leg too high, then your hip will come up towards your rib cage and you're not working the correct muscles. Another thing to watch out for is relaxing your knee. If you tense your thigh and tense your calf muscle, then your knee may lock and you're going to be working all of the wrong muscles. The only place you should feel it is up here, right up in the top of your thigh, one of your glute muscles. So lift the leg as high as you can, breathing in to lower it back down. So now for a further advancement, you might want to use your hands or you might not, it's up to you. We're going to leave the leg at hip height and we're going to gently bring the leg forwards and then bring it back, lower it back down. So So breathing out, lengthen, lift, breathing in, come forwards, come backwards, and lower down. So this again is a little bit of a further advancement. We're still working this glute muscle here, but we've recruited another few muscles. But now we're using the core muscles to make sure that the hips don't roll back. So as you're kicking that leg forward gently, make sure that your hips are not rolling backwards. We're going to do one more. Perfect. That's it, lovely. And then just bend that leg out in front of you. And if you can feel that muscle there, give it a bit of a pat and a rub. I'll let you do that. It'd be awkward if I started doing it with you. And now Emma's going to flip over onto the other side gracefully. No pressure. Lovely. So obviously if you do one leg, it's important to do the other, because otherwise when you leave you will walk around in circles, and I don't want any complaints about that. So do make sure that you even yourself up. So lengthening all the way through. Bringing the pelvis into neutral position, shoulders down, neck nice and long. Ankles, knees and hips neatly stacked on top of each other. Breathing in to prepare, breathing out. Keep that leg long as you lift it to hip height. Breathing in, lowering it back down. Make sure that your calf muscle, if you look at Emma's foot, you can see it's floppy. If she was holding her foot tightly, pointing it or flexing it, then the calf muscles would be engaging, and we don't want that. With Pilates, it's all about isolation of certain muscles. So the more you can switch off the rest of your body, the more you're going to get a workout from the specific muscle we're trying to work. Today, that's one of the glute muscles. So breathing out to lift, breathing in to lower. Again, Emma's making sure that the hip doesn't come up towards her rib cage. Okay, so next time we're going to add in our variation. So she's going to lengthen the leg, bring it up to hip height, slide that leg forward as if you're sliding it on a coffee table, bring it back and lower it back down. So now to begin with, you can use your arm to stabilise yourself, but the more you practice this exercise, the more you will be able to stabilise just by using those core muscles. The idea is that when you're bringing the leg forwards, you're not rolling your hip back. So there's lots of work going on in this area here. But the calf muscle nice and relaxed, thigh muscles, and the knees are nice and soft. Let's do one more. So lengthening, drawing the leg forwards, bringing it back, and then back down. Lovely. And then just again bending that knee and giving it a little pat and a rub. Good. Just to apologise for putting it through. So with all of these exercises, do them for as long as you can, stay in the neutral position. If you get tired quicker than Emma is, that's absolutely fine. Make sure you take regular rest. If you feel it anywhere, any discomfort or pain, then definitely stop what you're doing. So now we're going to roll over onto her back. We're going to finish with a nice shoulder bridge exercise, which is all about strengthening the glute muscles and mobilising the spine. So it's always nice, I think, to finish off with this one. So Emma's bringing herself back into that neutral position. Her feet are flat on the floor, both facing forwards. Her knees are hip distance apart and her shoulders are drawn all the way down. Pelvis is nice and neutral, so with that slight arch underneath your lower back and your hip bones nice and level. Again, as Emma starts breathing now, and you start to lighten the pressure through the feet. Okay, so we're going to breathe in, engage the core muscles. As you breathe out, I want you to hollow out your abdominals, using your tummy to push your lower back into the mat. Your pelvis starts to tilt fully backwards, and now squeeze your bum and peel up one vertebra by one, all the way up onto your shoulders. So when you get there, if you just hold it there for a minute, your shoulders, hips and knees should all be in a nice straight line, and you're using your bottom muscles to keep you up there. Breathe in to prepare. And as you breathe out, slowly peel back down. That pelvis tilts fully backwards. Absolutely perfect. Coming back to neutral before you breathe in and go again. So I'm going to leave Emma doing this for a minute while I talk you through it. So what Emma's doing is using her abdominals now and then using her glute muscles to lift. We're not pushing down with the feet or tensing all of the leg muscles. Again, it's all about this midsection. When Emma's coming down now, you can see from the top of her back first. So every single bone goes down one by one with no gaps. Now you can't see from here, but Emma's making sure that there's no rocking and swaying of her hips. So if when you're peeling up, there's not enough stability there and your hips are rocking from side to side or dropping one side or the other, then don't come all the way up. You can just start with pelvic tilts, coming up slowly and then coming back down. So if you want a little bit further challenge, then you can lift your arms off the floor so you don't have those to stabilise. So when you're rolling up and down now, you're not going to have your arms to stabilise you, so you're working a little bit harder. Perfect. You can add a little scissor action with the arms if you like here. Notice the control, there's no lifting of the shoulders and no tilting of the rib cage. Perfect. And then when you roll back down, keep your arms elevated so that you just don't have that support there. Perfect. So there are other variations available. It's always important to work to your own level. If you're a beginner, then I wouldn't suggest taking your arms off the floor just yet until you're able to peel up and peel down one vertebra at a time without rocking the hips. So this is really good for strengthening the bottom muscles and mobilising the spine. I can see Emma's calf muscles are nice and relaxed and there's no tensing through the thighs. Perfect. Lovely. So floating the arms back down now, drawing your knees into your chest. Lovely. And that's it for today. That's just a few exercises to go through so that when you're at home and I'm not there with you in the classes, then you could do a few of the exercises. Always check with your doctor if you're unsure, and always stop if you feel any discomfort anywhere. Oh, don't forget to check out the other videos of how to not waddle when you're pregnant.